Welcome to Trading Lounge and the Australian report, and starting with the ASX here on the 4-hour chart. And as you know, we've been looking at this in a couple of ways. We've been looking at it in terms of a wave 4 here and looking for a wave 5 up here to complete this particular structure. And we can see that there's weakness in global markets. We can see that there's weakness certainly in the European markets and the UK market. The US market is still heading higher, and our market here is really playing out across this large number here, this 6,000 here. This here can also be counted differently, as you know as well. We could also have a top in play already with wave 1 and 2 here and wave 4 here, and wave 3 here and 4 here and 5 here and 5 here and 3 here, and then this would lead this one here into from intermediate wave 3 in brackets here, we'd be looking at this to move back down to this space here. And what we've been sort of looking here is just to try to understand this particular pattern here. But this particular pattern here, I can see that it can be counted as a bullish pattern. I can also see it being counted as a bearish pattern. So what I've really been waiting for is for this market to establish itself as a nice support on the 6,000 or a resistance on the 6,000. And this particular point here now becomes really the the high on the level now, and this is below the 61.8%, so this really becomes critical here at this point here. So going long from this point or short from this point is about the size of it all. We can bring this one down to here a little bit as well. The other interesting points here, and I'll come back to this chart, one of the interesting points is that when we look at the US markets, we still haven't moved up to this particular wave 3 here in this case. So we've still got where we're looking for this as wave 4. It dropped a bit, spiked a bit sharper than expected. I was expecting it to come back to this wave 4 of one lesser degree, but not quite the case. But still, we're still expecting another move to the upside here. But that shouldn't take too long to do, really. So there's not much legs in this one here left. So once this one does start to move down, then obviously that's going to put pressure on global markets. But if we just take a look at the DAX for a moment, and the DAX is pretty much stock standard for the other European markets, even the FTSE as well, and we can see here that we've already got wave 3 in play here. So this has got a bearish move already in place. So this pattern here can be like the Australian market as well. But as you can see here as well, it's dancing across the 13,000 here, another large number. It has slipped now from being support here. We always understood that this is a corrective pattern here, and this is why the Australian market can be bearish as well. The Australian market tends to sort of float with the UK market as such as well. So, and that's in bearish mode. But this might have another little trick left in it for us as well. So it has dropped through here and retested the 13,000 here at this point. So this would naturally come down onto this low here now. So we're either, in this particular instance here, we're either going to touch onto here and then fail from here and move down and continue to move down from here. But I've got this little B wave in here, which makes it a little bit more complicated. It sort of makes all of this an A wave and a B wave and a C wave back up to here before it drops again. So we just need to be also a little bit careful here. But the main point here is that we know that this is a corrective pattern here because we've got overlapping wave structures a lot with all this particular market here. So yeah, we know that it kind of confirms that we've got this wave 3 in the top here. So I'd imagine when the US markets, just go back to them for a moment, when the US markets top out here and start to turn, then that's really going to put the weakness on all the markets. So that's kind of what I've been sort of waiting for with the ASX 200 as well. I knew that this had, still had all this trend here to go, so to speak, and I was curious to see if the ASX 200, with all that time that it had, would actually, continue to move up here. But really, it is a strong pattern here. It's stronger than the DAX, and it's strong. This little trend here is stronger than the DAX and stronger than the UK market and so on. But it's not as strong as the US, and it's not taking us higher here as well. It's not to say that it won't. The other little thing in here as well is you can see that this is in 3 waves here. It may be down for 1 and back for 2, down for 1 and back for 2 here in a series, but it would have to keep this high here. It couldn't breach this high here. If it breaches this high here, then it's highly likely to breach this one here as well and move higher from that point. But the other point here too now is that on the 6,000 here, it's found itself, on the resistant side of the market. So we really need to be looking at short trades, but I don't think we should be shorting this until we can see really the US markets topped out and another drop down in the DAX as well, seeing that fail at the 13,000. So we're getting really, we've probably made some mistakes in here, but the main point here is that not to fall asleep during this correction, because out of this, this is quite a big correction here. So we should be seeing a good move come out of it in due course. So as it stands at the moment, I think we just need to stand aside here. But if this low here gets breached, then we can definitely move down from that point there. And the bearish count for that on the hourly chart here would start to look like this here. So with the same with the European markets, with the wave 3 and top here, and then wave A down here. This could also be wave 1 here, but I don't think so now, because wave 2 is normally sharp and simple, but this is more complex here as a wave B. So, and I'm not even happy putting this down as wave 1 and 2 here just yet either, because this whole structure here, even though it's not a good looking structure for a corrective pattern, but it could certainly play out as an A wave here, a B wave here, and then a really messy C wave here, which happened in the overnight market, so to speak. So it can push up from here. So I just think that we should watch it. The Friday didn't close strong, so if it had closed strong, then we could expect Monday to follow through, but that's not the case. It closed weaker, and we can see that our banks are weaker as well. We can see the Australian dollar is weaker as well. And so there is that weakness in the air. So we can start looking for short trade setups, but they might not come just yet as well. But at the same time, if this is a bullish pattern here, then we still couldn't go long unless we had a nice support sitting on the 6,000 here. We don't have that either, so we're not in a setup mode here at the moment. The only setup mode here that's looking the best so far is on the short side here. All right, so I'll leave it at that. I don't have any answers at this particular stage with all of this, but it will fall into shape and into play, and I guess that is going to be when the US markets top out. So keep an eye on the S&P, because when that finishes moving up to complete its structure, then it's going to put pressure, of course, on all the markets, and we're going to see that move down, all the markets move down from that point. So we'd have wave 1 in here already. There's probably wave 2 in here, and we'll look for wave 3, 4 and 5. So this could happen in a couple of sessions here, and of course wave 4 could get a bit more complicated as well here, but let's just see how that goes. The main point is seeing a new high above here, to call this top in here. And once that's in, could even take 3 sessions, depending on how quick it moves. But once it's in, then we can certainly start looking on, the bearish moves on this market, the ASX 200, wherever that is. If that moves up even into this space here, and then drops here or drops here, wherever it is when the US markets top out, we can take that on board and look to short. And of course, that will also go for the DAX as well. I don't know if the DAX is just going to push up here in 3 waves or make a new high above here in some space and then drop here. I don't know the answer to this one here either just yet. So we will use that US market to govern what we do. Alrighty, thanks, cheers.